Hey everybody. Hope everybody's day is going better than mine right now. You know, I wanted to make this video a while ago, but you guys are ruthless on the internet. But anyway, I feel like this has to get out. Like, I have to tell my story to possibly prevent someone else from going through what I'm currently going through now. I just want to start by saying when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. They're not going to change. They're not. And with people that we love, we tend to try to prove ourselves, or, if I be loyal, then, you know, he'll marry me, or, we going to be together and blah, blah, blah. All I got to do is just stick it out, hold him down, let him know, I'm down for him. That doesn't work. It doesn't. Because I've learned now a man knows his true intentions when he meets you. He already know how far he want to take things. Sometimes things do catch people by surprise, but with men, they know. They do. So I was in, hold on, you know, just trying to get comfortable. I was in a abusive relationship for 17 years. 17 long years, okay? And I thought the same thing. I saw my dad, and him and my stepmom were married, for a very long time. And I wanted that. I wanted to be with someone and, to have fun together, do things together, travel, just enjoy each other. I met my ex when I was 15 years old. Yeah. I lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he lives where we currently are now. And my dad's from here, so summer break or whatever, I met him. We kept in contact for about 5 years, and I would come back and forth. We would see each other. So our relationship at first was not based upon like sex, because I couldn't give him none. He couldn't give me none because I didn't live there. So I had more of a, an emotional connection with him. He told me things, I told him things. We had a similar, background. His was just a little bit, tad bit worse, but we both saw our moms and dads arguing and fighting and stuff when we were little. And the stories that he told me, it made me feel sorry for him. And what I had going on, he probably felt the same thing to me, for me. So I ended up moving here where we are now, and we continue to date. And it's just like one day, things just changed. It's just one day, it just changed. The first time, we had that he put his hands on me, we were at his house, and his little brother was there. I think he was like maybe 10 or 11 at the time. And we got into an argument about something. I don't know what it was. And we took a picture when we like first met, And I took the picture and I was like, this is what I think about it, and I balled the picture up. He got so upset. He started pushing me and, hitting me and stuff. And I was shocked because I couldn't believe that he was doing that. He had no signs of, this is a person that don't even raise their voice. Like, he's not like a type of person that argues and stuff like that, like loud. No. He doesn't do that. So I wasn't expecting that. He didn't know how to express his feelings verbally, but he'd express it with action, and it'll be negative action. So after that first incident, I went home. Like I didn't know how to take it, And he and I had such a connection, with each other that I did not want, I didn't want, our relationship to end. And of course, like they do, I'm sorry, blah 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 blah, whatever. And hey, women can do this too. So I know dudes, I know some guys that they woman, she crazy. So it's not just men that do this. Women do it too. So anyway, we continued on for years and years. When he got upset, he would let me know he was upset. Two incidents that happened that was just worse, that took the cake. And all of our friends here where we live knew how he was and how our relationship was. And when I was in my 20s, and that's why I'm making this video, because if you are a young person and you're in a relationship that's toxic, get out. Get out. There's no reason for you to say. Youth is something you can't buy. Youth is more valuable than money. Okay, so I'm in my 20s. My sister and her friends, and, they would all go out and have a good time, go to Atlanta, go here, go there, just doing what they should have been doing at their age. I couldn't do that. When I did, try to attempt to go with my friends, he would show up wherever we were and he'd like, get in the car. And everybody would be looking like, really? You really finna go like that? Fuck that nigga. I got in the car because I loved him. And I missed out on a lot when I was young. I missed out on a lot. I can count on my hands how many times I've been to a club. But maybe that was for a good, maybe that was a good thing. But at the same time, some experience I've never had. I don't know what that feels like because I wasn't allowed to experience that. Meanwhile, he was traveling with his friends and they were doing this and they were doing that. He was really enjoying his life, but he made sure that I didn't have a life. So time went on, and he wanted to be a rapper. You know how they go. So he was, I guess, maybe striving towards that, but things just, it just didn't work out for whatever reason. So in the midst of him trying to do that, he's like, I'm going to move to Atlanta. And I was like, okay, why? He was like, yeah, because I, got some friends out there and, and I can, it'll be easier for me to try to, get into the rap game being in Atlanta. And I was like, okay. So he moves and he lives with a friend that got old. Because, people tell you like, oh, you can come stay with me, but you don't really know a person until you move in with them. So I guess it wasn't working out where he was. And I was working. So it was days he didn't have food to eat. It was days that he, really went without. And I made sure he had money so he could at least eat, Because I felt like, oh, my baby working hard. I got to be down for him. Let me send him some money. And that's what I did. So eventually, it was like the end of the year that year. And this was about like 2009, because I remember Obama being elected and what was on TV and everybody was like screaming and stuff in my house and in the neighborhood. So, yeah. So it was right after the election. So he calls me. He's like, I got an idea. And I was like, what? He was like, you want to make some money? He said, we can make some money. And I was like, what you talking about? He was like, he wanted to go and buy drugs with it. And I was like, okay. you know. So I sent him about $1,600 or something like that on my tax return. So he goes and he buys drugs with it. You know, it first started with him coming back and forth. He would bring them himself, sell them, drop them, sell them, drop them. So that got old because it was obvious that he was leaving too much to where it would have been obvious. And he convinced me that this is how in love I was with this man. It's only the grace of God saved my life. He was like, I'm gonna put you on the bus with it. And at first I was scared because I was like, I had never done anything like that before. And he was like, it's gonna work, I'm telling you. And he would go to the bus station and he would like sit out there because they had like this little mangy dog out there. I guess sniff drugs or whatever. And he knew when they came, when the dog left, when the dog came, blah, blah, blah. And that's how he would arrange me getting the ticket and getting on the bus at a certain time. So of course the first time I was nervous. Like I was like, what the fuck, It just really didn't sink in what was going on and what could have happened. I was just thinking about making him happy and he convinced me it was gonna, work for both of us. So that went on for a while. Like he would put me on the bus, and all of that stuff. And we end up going to to my sister's house. And we had an argument one day. And he punched me in my face so hard that I woke up on the floor. Like I've never been punched in the face like that before. And he was scared to take me to the hospital because he thought they was going to take him to jail. So my sister, like, he can't come over here. And me, well, if he can't come, I can't come. I leave because he couldn't come. So I wore that black eye for about 2 weeks. And he made sure that I did not come around his mom with my eye like that. But I was around my family, and he told me to tell them I ran into the door. Something stupid. And I did. Like a fool. So he had me, doing that. Like I said, I could have went to jail. I could have lost my life. But I did it thinking that, especially, with the black culture, like, oh, you got to be a down-ass bitch. You got to cover your man, take the charge for him, blah, blah, blah. No. If you're dealing with somebody that is doing that, what I learned in that situation was he didn't love me. He was using me is what he was doing. Because when you love somebody, you want what's best for that person, even if it's not you. When you love somebody and you get a real man, ladies, and guys too, when you get a real woman, they will never put you in a position to be hurt. Like he would, if he really loved me, he would have hid that he was doing that. He would have ever asked me to do it because he loved me too much. He didn't want to put me in danger, but I didn't see that then. And now I see that. He was just using me. And it just went from bad to worse. Like my family, all of my friends was like, hey, you need to leave him. You need to leave him. And when I say I'm going to leave, he'll tell me I kill you and nobody never find your body. And he would say things like that. And he would say things like, oh, you're not pretty enough. You're not thick enough, blah, 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 blah. Made me feel like, that he was the best thing that I would ever have. Is how he made me feel. And I believed it for a while. I did. And it was the worst mistake of my life. Meeting him was the worst thing that could have happened to me. Ladies, you don't want to be 37 and never lived out your dreams. Never focus on yourself. Never doing what makes you happy. I'm 37 years old, and sometimes I just feel lost because I missed so much time of my youth dealing with a violent person. So, what ultimately, broke the camel's back with this situation, straw, however you go. He and I had a little girl, and we moved to, where we were gonna live and stuff. And I don't know what was going on. Really, honestly, this is what I think it was. I think it was the stress of us having a kid and, finances and stuff like that. He wasn't selling drugs anymore. He tried, well, he didn't try, he did it. But even though all of them, they're not going to hit, only a few. So around tax season, what he would do was his mom used to work for the IRS. Yeah. As a tax advocate, whatever. And she taught him how to do taxes. So one day we were at the apartment. He puts on like a collar shirt and, gets like dressed up. And I'm like, where are you going? Looking like that. I ain't with you. Where you going? He was like, oh, I'm finna go handle some business right quick. I'll be right back. And I was like, okay. So he comes back, and I think I was going to go to the grocery store or something. And he stayed at home. And I saw like a little clipboard that had like applications on there, So I'm thinking he out looking for a job, like that's what I'm thinking. So I get back home and I'm like, you been looking for you a job? Like, where you trying to work at? And he was like, no. He was like, I got the hook. I'm doing something. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm gonna do taxes on people. I'm like, you gonna do taxes? He was like, yeah. So what he did was he would get dressed up like a businessman every day. And in certain cities and states, they have what's called a labor pool, which is like a work here, pay here, like right now type of thing. Like you get the money when you're done. So he would go to like really bad neighborhoods where you see people, on drugs or drunk, somebody on drugs. I don't want to say a crackhead or whatever, because to me that's, that's not nice because everybody has a story. But, somebody who was down on their luck, let's say that, down on their luck. And he would tell them, look, I got a job for you. I'm going to come pick you up tomorrow. We're going to be cleaning buildings or whatever he told them. And he was like, yeah, you just got to sign this paper. So I know, because we got to count for you. You get your money. And if you sign this paper, I give you $10 right now. So, of course, you down on your luck doing God knows what. Okay, $10? Okay. They take the $10. Put their social, birthday, name, everything on this application. And he would do maybe about 5 a day. Some people be like, oh, no, But he would get at least 5. So what he did was when he got like a laptop, maybe like from the pawn shop or something like that. And what he would do is like go to a McDonald's parking lot or Starbucks or whatever and use the Wi-Fi to file the taxes. And he would have like a Walmart card or, like a Green Dot Money card, something like that people get when they file their taxes. He filed for the card in that person's name while he was doing the taxes. And he would have it sent to an abandoned residence that didn't look too bad, And when he had it sent there, he would probably drive by the place that it was coming, sit out there, find out what time the mailman's coming, and try to like be in the area, because the mail carrier, they won't put mail in the box if they know for a fact that this house is abandoned. So you have to kind of be over there a little bit. They have to see somebody to be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna put this in the mail. So that's what he was doing all day. He'd go by the abandoned place, get people, information, back and forth, blah blah blah. So let's just say he had 10 people he did. 4 of them gonna come back with a review. 2 of them probably is gonna say they already been claimed. So that's what, 6. Now you have 4 left, and you can get anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 for that person. So let's do the math. You have 4 people. Let's just say he had $1,000 per person. That's $4,000 that he got on a card, and he'd have to go to Walmart to try to pull the money off the card some kind of way. I don't know, but that is what he was doing, and he never involved me in that situation. He didn't. That was something he was doing on his own. So that kind of got old, like I said, because you can only do it for, during tax season. So that was it with that. So we were living there, and times were hard. Things was a little rough. I wasn't working. We're not from here, so it's not like I had a babysitter or anything like that. So the pressure just got real intense. He and I should have never had a baby together, because our relationship was on the rocks for so long, and we didn't know how to communicate with each other, and it was just bad. It just wasn't good at all. We have a few good moments, but it's one moment that I'll never forget, no matter how I feel about him. We were snowed in the state that we were living in, and he and I got up, we put boots on and clothes, and we went out, and we walked to the store, and we had so much fun. I'll never forget that day. But there's also bad days that I'll never forget too. So, like I said, the pressure's on. He gets up, he gets dressed, and he's saying get my daughter ready. I'm like, for what? Because he never took the baby with him if I wasn't there. Like, if I went to the store, I had to take my daughter with me. He would not watch her. The only way I could get him to watch her is to just go. But if he knew I was going somewhere, take her with you. And that's what I would do. And, just not to argue. So, one day, we got into an argument about him. And he was like, oh, I'm going to see Alyssa's stepmama, and she fine as hell. It was kind of like he was doing stuff to get me to leave. But he didn't want to be an asshole and put me out with a baby. So he created an altercation that I wouldn't have a choice but to leave, because something bad was going to happen. So he hits me, and my daughter is in my arms at this time. He hits me, we're he hit me, I'm fighting him back. So he grabs my daughter and put her on the couch, start choking me, and just beat me up, and the thing I will never forget, and what really woke me up to see that how he really was, and that I need to sleep and never deal with him like that again. He raised his foot up, and he had some black boots on, and he was getting ready to stomp me in my face. And I looked at him like, damn, you really gonna do it? My eyes said it all, and he stopped. He didn't kick me. And I grabbed my daughter and I ran outside. And the mail lady was, she was putting the mail in because we were at an apartment. And she saw me. Like, my shirt was hanging off me. My baby was crying. I was running and crying. I ain't had no shoes on. Nothing. And she called the police. And I was like, I kind of begged her not to. That's how much in love this man I was. I begged her not to. And then he had drugs in the house too. So I didn't want him to go to jail. But she said, no, I'm calling him anyway. And I thought about just going back in the house, but I was like, no, if she gonna call him, I mean, there's nothing I could do. So I stood out there, waited. Police came. They took pictures of me. They arrest him. He goes to jail. Child endangerment and domestic violence. And when he was in jail, I called my family. They were there within 5 hours. I packed up all my things and my daughter, and I left with a garbage bag full of clothes on one side and a baby on the other. I had nothing. Nothing. No car, nothing. No job, nothing. But me, my daughter, and a food stamp card. And when he got out of jail, he had the food stamp card turned off. Yeah. So I moved back where I'm currently living now. And, you know, he and I never really got back together after that. We were okay, but we never really, got back together after that. And I never put him on child support. My baby daughter is 7. I never put him on child support. Everything was cool, So what I thought everything, was cool. But apparently I see now that it wasn't. So, and yeah, ladies, let me tell you something. This is the mistake that I made that I'm paying for it now from what he's done. Okay. Especially if you have a child. Now, if it's just you and you want to take this risk, then hey, that's you. But if you have a child with somebody and that person gets, whether male or female, and they get arrested for domestic violence and child endangerment, or just arrested for domestic violence in front of a child, do not drop charges. Don't. 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 Because if all of that is happening, it's not going to work anyway. Keep those charges. He's had several charges dropped on him. So now we're going to kind of fast forward 3 years from that, when I'm left and I was living in my grandparents' house. My grandmother, she's a soldier. I love her. My grandmother was like 76 or something like that. And she watched my baby while I went to work. She was my rock and was watching my baby for 3 years. I never asked her dad for child support. I just did what I needed to do. But because going to child support, doing all that means I have to deal with him. And I just wanted him out of my life. So I was just like, he don't have to give me nothing. Whenever he want to see his baby, he can come get her. Because I want to have my break too. I'm not going to say, no, she can't come over there. No, nigga, when it's your day, come get her. Because it's stuff I want to do too. So, and I would never do that to my daughter. Because I love my dad dearly. Like, I miss him. He's passed away. But I love him. I'm a true daddy's girl. So, I would never take that away from my daughter. Like, never. Because I love my mom too, don't get me wrong. But you love both of your parents, but it's kind of different, with mom and dad. It's the same, but different. So, for 3.5 years, I never asked him for money, nothing. Okay? And still let him see his baby. So, I moved into my first place, being back. And it was nice. I was excited. My daughter was happy. She had her own room. Like we, were making the transition to being on our own, just me and her. Because it's always been just she and I. That's it. It's always just been me and her. I moved into my apartment, and during this time, like, me and my ex, we weren't together, but we were still kind of, every now and then. So we moved into our apartment, and he lives maybe like a quarter of a mile. His mom lived really close to me, but in my grandparents' house it was far from where I was living. And his mom was like, I'll help you. I can keep her. I'm retired. If you got to work, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool, because I'm a bartender. And of course, weekends, that's, when you work, most bartenders, depending on, I guess, where you're at. But I was a bartender making like $1,000 a week, doing good, proud of myself. Me and my daughter, we out shopping, and we enjoyed it, just being she and I. And his mom started watching my little girl. So, like I said, we're not together, but it was like a 1 foot out, one in type of thing. It was like, it's hard to explain, like, what our relationship was at that time. No, he was not living with me, no. And yeah, but anyway, even when you break up with somebody, don't have sex with them, because it gets really confusing, and that person don't really understand that it's over. And sometimes we tell ourselves it's over, but if you're still sleeping with the person, they're apparently not. So at my job, before I started working there, I was so in love with my little girl's daddy that he was like the flyest, finest, good dick motherfucker I ever met, is what I thought. Yeah. So, what really just like cut the rug, his mom asked, can they take Alyssa to Disney World, that they were having a family vacation? Sure. That was my baby's second time going. So I was like, yeah, she can go. So they're gone for a whole week now. Whole week. And like I said, we together, but we not together. So I'm calling to talk to my daughter. She's been gone a whole week. That's the longest she's ever been gone from me. So I'm calling, seeing did she have a good time and stuff like that.